Hi, I'm Eric Lupau, and welcome to Beyond the Belt. This is a conversation with Adam Marburger, a black belt out of Alton, Illinois, USA. Adam is an author, owner and CEO of multiple businesses, speaker, coach, and gym owner. I hope you enjoy our chat.
Adam, thanks for being here.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Tell me, what was it like for you to get your black belt?
It was one of the best days of my life next to my beautiful daughters being born.
What was it for you? Like, was it a full ceremony? Did you have to do something special? Were you kind of surprised by it? How'd it go?
Well, I'll tell you. So we're an affiliation TAC team. Jared Weiner, he's the Philadelphia area high level black belt. My head coach is Kyle Watson, so we're in that TAC team affiliation, and so we had, like team training at our gym in St. Louis at Kyle's place, and I knew there could be some promotions. At this point, I'd been a brown belt I was 4 stripes from my brown belt. I've been a brown belt for 3 years. I had a few people call me actually on the way. They're like, "Hey, you're getting your black belt today." I was like, "Dude, I don't even want to talk about it." Cause it's like the belt, when you're a white belt, you want your blue belt. When you're a blue belt, you want your purple, especially I was in the competition scene really hard. And then when you're a purple belt, you want to be a brown belt, but it really wasn't like I was dying to get my black belt because like the pressure at getting the black belt is just different. It's a different thing when you get your black belt, right? But I told my friends, don't jinx me. But yeah, I had this kind of feeling that I could, but it was really cool. Actually, it was a really great experience. Big big room. So yeah.
Did you feel like you earned it once you had it? Like when it was put around you, were you like, was it about time? Or were you more like, I can't believe I got to perform now?
No, I feel I earned it. I started mixed martial arts, late 90s. I was kickboxing and then I did the whole MMA thing for a long time. So I was a no-gi grappler for freaking 8 years, before I put on the gi. So, I felt I deserved my black belt. Now, however, I'll say this is transparency and being like totally humble here. The game changes. I'm a 45-year-old black belt, 21-year-old purple belts that train 5 hours a day, that study every little detail, trying new things. You got to pay attention to those guys. So I stay in shape and I train. I'm still training pretty hard to make sure that I can still hang, with the young kids. Right.
I feel like it's not that important. For me, it's not that important to hang with the young kids anymore. Like if I get, we've got at my gym a 28-year-old rugby player who is just a massive human and strong and fast, that faster than I will ever be. And sometimes he just gets on top and I'm like, well, doesn't matter that he's a blue belt. This is going to suck.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think it was when I turned 40, it was 40 plus, where I kind of like, I don't have to be the toughest guy in the room. I don't need to be the guy that never taps. Like especially you get one of my ankles. I don't care what belt rank you are. You get one of my ankles in a scramble where there's a heel hook center. I'm tapping quicker than anyone because I just want to reset. I have a lot of jobs. I have careers and kids, and this is a hobby now. I already got my medals. I did all the medal thing a long time ago, the tournament stuff. Like I don't care anymore.
Yes. I'm the same way. To me, it's like, it's a little less important. It's a little less important, not only that I need to win. I don't care if I win, but I also want the other people to get better. And I don't want them to get better because I not panicked, but just, like got out of there a little too early. Like I want to make sure that they're learning, and because I do a lot of teaching at this point too.
Yeah. Eric, you just said something that I really like and I agree with, that you just want to see other people get better. And like I have kind of turned that corner, especially with my newest academy that I just opened. And we got just such a beautiful space. And I got to teach some classes this week, and seeing your people get better gives you more joy than anything. And like at the end of the day, if you can't teach or coach your students to beat you, then what are you doing? Right. You want to see
Exactly.
your people get farther than you got. Like that's
For
where I'm
sure.
at. I would much rather I'm not a world, I placed at Nogi Worlds, at Masters, right? Several times. I'm not a freaking world champion. I'm not a Pan Am's champion, but I would love to build one. I think it would be really cool to build one.
Yeah. I like the idea of helping people improve. Like for me, when somebody runs up to me and they're like, "Coach, I hit the move," I'm like, "That's awesome. Like that's great." And I like when I teach a move and then I'm sparring with someone in class and I kind of give them the setup and they recognize it and they like leap on it. And if they don't get it perfectly, I'll still let them have it. And I'll be like, you got it. Would you like any advice? And then they're like, yeah. And then I feel them do it again later in the round. I'm like, this to me is what I enjoy about coaching, is seeing people in real time process, improve, and then get excited to go try it out on someone else because it worked on the coach.
Amen to that. Being a coach is just so rewarding. So rewarding.
Did you teach before you got before you had started the academy, or was that something that you started doing when you got the academy?
I coached because here, going back in time, I started kickboxing in 97. I was in a gym for a couple of years in St. Louis. And then from like 99 to 2002, one of my buddies who got me into MMA, like I started training with him and he was showing me, first of all, like when I grappled with him for the first time and I kept getting guillotine choked. How the heck, man? I didn't know he's pulling on me. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I was just addicted at that point. So I went to an MMA gym and then I trained MMA, did some MMA fights. And then I did MMA for a long time as far as training. I was never some high level pro, not that guy. I was the guy that loved to train. I always had a job in the professional career, so it's like I had my career, but I always found time to get my training in, right? It was so important to me. Then over time, I just became a coach. I started coaching MMA, cornering guys. I coached a lot of Nogi. Nogi was kind of my jam. So as I got into jujitsu, I put the gi on in 2011. I said, no more MMA. I'm done sparring with these young. Well, here's the thing. I was getting pieced up quite a bit. Like, you spar 5 rounds at 8 p.m. at night, young, hungry fighters that are fighting for money, right? You're getting hurt. I mean, I was hurt a lot. And then finally, I'm like, oh, do I want to make money and build wealth potentially for my family and have like this other life? Or do I want to be in Fight Club still, right? And so that's where I made the decision to put the gi on, and I have never sparred since kickboxing. I have not done a round in kickboxing since 2011 was my last sparring round.
That's a hard line switch. I mean, when I switched from MMA, I still to jujitsu, I still did some sparring here and there. Even now, I still will like throw on some gloves and I will go very light. But if somebody starts going hard, I'll tap out of sparring, like striking sparring real quick, because I want people to learn to strike gently in the same way I want people to do jujitsu gently. And like control is important, but wow,
I think everybody should strike. I think everybody should understand how to strike, should know how to strike. And I think, like for me, it's like I did it for so long. It was like, I'm good. See you later. Let me put these pajamas on. Nobody's going to punch me and kick me in the face. But I think it's really important. I still hit the bag. I still hit mitts. I still play, shadow and all that type of stuff. I'm just not in there banging with 22-year-olds that have pro fights coming up, and
I don't think that's a bad idea. I hit the bag all the time. But every so often I like getting in there and throwing a little bit of, just like gentle hands, gentle kicks, making sure I still know how to have my distance for the spins and stuff. It's like a difficult dance to give up is sort of the way I think about it.
Now my 7-year-old, little Aston Marie, my baby, she is infatuated and obsessed with boxing. I mean, there's just, I got her these little gloves, and I'm telling you, this 7-year-old understands. She throws from the hip, and she just I'm talking straight punches right down the pocket, and she hits hard. And this kid's 7. And I always tell Rue, I call her Baby Rue. I was like, you can't be careful with this. Don't be playing with your friends at school, because she hits hard enough. The thing is, when you understand hip and to come off your foot, like you can hurt somebody, right? And so, but the
second you learn that a punch comes from the balls of your feet, the intensity of the punches go way, way up.
Yeah. And so, landed the plane on that is so now I have this incredible martial arts academy. We've got great youth kickboxing and MMA. And so we're going to put her in that program and she's going to absolutely flourish. I see her doing very well. So, yeah.
Do all your kids do martial arts at this point, or?
No, so my firstborn, Annalie, who's a sophomore in high school, when she was little, I showed her some jujitsu. She's got good striking. So we do some boxing, middle. She's got really good striking. She is kind of going through one of those, it's one of those, hell, she probably won't hear this. I don't care. Here, I don't want to curse, but she's been a pain in my ass. So I'm in this phase with my sophomore where she's running with all these friends and older friends, a little rambunctious, kind of, not listening. Her behavior isn't where it should be right now. So right now she is working. I'm going to give her this. She's working at this incredible restaurant, making some really, really good money. Because I told her, if you're not in sports, you got to go make some money. So she should be training, but she's not. My middle child, Arabelle, who's 13, she actually helps out at the childcare. So our jujitsu academy, we have childcare. So like, the working parents that got 4-year-olds, there's no excuses. Come on in, y'all. So she's like the kid whisperer, like kids gravitate to her. And so she handles that and she's working. And I think she's going to do some soccer. So I'm trying, but what I'm finding is I don't want to force it. Because I've talked to other fellow practitioners who are like, listen, if you don't push too hard, there's a time where their interest gets piqued and then you just run with it at that time, so.
Yeah, I've heard that I'm not a kids person, but I've heard that, one, there's not forcing, but then I've heard other parents who are like, look, I don't care if my kids are in martial arts for life, but I want them to do at least, 6 to 12 months. And after 1 year, I will never hound them again. I just want them to know how to protect themselves and feel a little calmer and more self-confident under pressure.
I love that. Yeah, I agree with that. In my household, my kids will understand how to throw straight punches. They will understand how to defend themselves. They're going to understand the basic mechanics because that's a prerequisite in our household. They get the clinch work in and all that. But, I am just hoping because it would be so cool to just share the mat in practice with one of my daughters and have them love it. And them go, Dad, are we going? Like that would be a dream come true for me.
That sounds like a really wonderful dream to have. I sort of get that way with my friends, but I imagine it's completely different. Like friends who don't do jujitsu or friends who have never stepped on a mat, but I imagine it's quite different with your kids.
Yeah, it is. Here's the thing. I just like spend as much time with them. And it's like whenever, and you can relate to this, jujitsu is like this drug that's like it's the most addicting drug in the world. You remember that first time you got that triangle choke and you locked it in and you finished it? Like, remember going home, how you felt, right? You want to sell it to everyone you meet. Like you want everybody should do jujitsu. Like you should, like, it's like we have this thing that we want everybody to know about, right? So it's real easy to brag and talk and, on vacation or wherever you're at, I could talk jujitsu all day, every day. So
learned to try to do that less because I find that it feels very like proselytizing. I feel like I'm trying to bring someone into a religion. And so I try to avoid missionary work as a general rule.
I get that.
But it's kind of entertaining, like to see someone else light up and talk about it in a way where you're like, wow, this person also really appreciates, jujitsu, MMA, Muay Thai, whatever it might be.
Yeah. And I have a large company in the automotive industry. And in the automotive industry, there's probably, there's a couple dozen like high-level trainers and consultants. And there's like 3 of us that have our black belts. And it's just so random. So there's this different level of handshake and hug when we see each other in public. The conversations are a little more intimate. And you ever find yourself in a conversation, you're kind of rushing, like, I got to move on. Right? I got to go, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want to be rude, but when you're talking to another jujitsu person, that could be a blue belt, purple, white. I don't care if you do jujitsu. It's just different. You're in the pocket longer. You're actually, I care about what your kids' names are. Like you do jujitsu. So,
it is kind of funny. I try to avoid that in general. I have actively worked on trying to be more present with people in general, but you're absolutely right. When I see that, I'm like, now we've got a common topic that I was not expecting to have in common. Yeah, so tell me more about this.
It brings you so close. I mean, just it's that thing that no matter what affiliation you're on, no matter what rank, wherever you're at, just it's that thing that brings you a little bit closer, you know?
Yeah. Why'd you end up starting a gym? I feel like there's a lot of people who are, yeah, I enjoy it, and then they go and teach or whatever. But like, why did you choose to go to that level and start your own gym?
That's a wonderful question. So, full disclosure, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have a ton of companies and I can't stop. I love to get a deal, find the right person to run the deal, and then boom, let's move on. Well, here's what happens. When you're in business, it's difficult to find time to train, and it's hard. It's your sacrifice. There's a lot of sacrifice. I wanted to train 5 minutes from my house. I wanted to train 5 minutes from my office. So I started a martial arts academy in 2017. I was already purple belt, 2-stripe purple belt. Kyle Watson, who's the most incredible coach in the world. I don't know if you know Kyle Watson. He was on The Ultimate Fighter. He was on GSP.
Oh, that one. Oh, yeah. I know who he is.
High level black belt, just high level black belt. Every stripe, every belt that came through that man. So I remember being, purple belt, and I went to Kyle because I wanted his blessing. I wasn't going to do it without him letting me know I was worthy to do it. I wanted his, kind of permission at some level. I just said, hey, I'm thinking about, I want to train more, and I need it to be convenient. So I'm thinking about opening a sister school if you're down. And he's like, absolutely. So from day one, support, endorsed it. And we opened up in 2017 in August. We started in a health club. And this is you want to hear a pretty cool story?
Please. Yeah.
I'll share.
Let's do it.
So we're in this health club. We had about a 1,200 square foot room, 1,100 square foot mats, decent sized little room. Okay. We paid rent on time every single month, never had issues, brought people, like we're kind of pillars of the community, do a lot of we're like so involved in the community, right? I am on my family vacation. This is this previous summer right here. It was May 30th. Full disclosure, I've been on the beach, had a vodka or two in my little cup, okay? And I make a rule with myself when I go down to 30A in Florida. That's the 1 week a year I don't check email. I'm not texting you right back. The world doesn't exist. As a matter of fact, I leave this thing on the island in the kitchen in our wherever we're staying, right? So I had to run back to the room to grab something, and I was looking at my phone. I'm like, do I look? Do I not look? And I picked my phone up and I checked my email, and it was an eviction notice. So the owner I'm not going to go into the details here, but the owner just straight up put us out. He says, you have 30 days to get out. Well, this, Eric, being in jiu-jitsu forever, that you can't really move a martial arts academy in 30 days. You can't just it just not enough time. So we were blessed after some nice conversations. They gave us 90 days. And I'm not going to go into why we got kicked out or any of that other stuff now. It was completely wrongful. We forgave them, whatever. So we had a hard time finding a new spot. And we looked at strip malls and all these other buildings and just couldn't find anything. Started to get super down. I was close to saying, I'm done. I'm just going to go train. I'm done. I don't need to have a gym anymore. And then an off-market deal. I'm a real estate guy. This off-market deal fell right in my lap to buy this insane building that is beautiful. We gutted it. Now we have a freaking 4,000 square foot building, over 2,000 square foot of unobstructed mat space. And so long story short, to land the plane on this, because it was a long rant on that, I started the gym originally to have a place to train that was very convenient. Then I fell in love with what we were doing in the community and seeing the growth that happened. And I had a hard time saying goodbye after we got evicted. And now we have the most epic academy in the area by far. It's insane.
So what is it that you find epic about it? Like, what is the thing that keeps you going about it? Is it like the students? Is it the kids? Is it the community? Like, what is your driving force here?
Awesome question. So when you become a steward of jiu-jitsu, a practitioner of jiu-jitsu, you have more respect for yourself and more respect for other people. You're typically a better contributor within your vocation. You're typically a better contributor in your household, and you're typically a better contributor in your community. So when you see kind of all these things happening, you see people coming through the doors that lose 100 pounds, or you got the dude that got divorced because wife left him with some dude 2 years ago, and he's been, drinking every single day for 2 years, and now his life gets together, gets in shape, and meets somebody new, right? You get that kid that gets bullied at school, and I'm going to tell you, I hate bullies. So, but you get this kid that's bullied in 6th grade, you get the call from mom. And then the kid 6 months later, not only can defend himself, but has a whole new circle of influence and friends, life change, right? So that's the real driving reason. I say all the time that my jiu-jitsu academy, out of all of my businesses, it provides the least amount of income to my family, but the most amount of joy. So the joy's higher than everything else. The income's lower. And I'm okay with that. I mean, that's my thing. So
I think we all need passion projects. And if your passion project happens to be good for the community, that sounds like a pretty big win to me.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I do want to talk about entrepreneurship, but before we do, I want to ask about injuries, because I like asking everybody, like, the kind of injuries they had and how they dealt with it. But in your case, I've learned that people who strike, from being a striker for 15 plus years myself, you don't get injured as often, but your injuries feel much more devastating in some ways, because they're not like, oh, I'm off the mat for however long because, I broke my leg. It's usually like, oh, I got a concussion, and now it's like, I don't feel like there's anything wrong, but I got to stay off. Like, what has your injury sort of record been?
That's a great question. You're right about the striking. It's crazy to think, because you're right. Because I'm sitting here thinking about my career. Like, I got injured less in striking than I did grappling. I got the crap kicked out of me a whole lot more than striking,
Yeah.
but I got injured less. The leg kicks were probably the worst. The legs and get the knees.
Yeah.
But grappling, I've had shoulder issues, AC separations, that just nagging, that just don't go away for months. I've had elbow issues. I've had wrist issues.
Yeah.
I've had knee issues, lower back issues, nothing major that's required surgery. I was in Nogi Worlds. I was in the semifinals, and I was going up against a 10 planet guy. I just ran through 2 guys, quick triangle finishes. Just boom. I was a guard puller then. Don't judge, Eric. I don't pull guard as much anymore because I just,
I
but
don't judge anybody for their style, man. I
well,
think martial arts is a beautiful expression of
it
who
was
they
just,
are.
I was on point that day. Out
Yeah.
there, play with the head, overhook, jump, triangle, just back, tap 2 guys.
Yeah.
And the next match, I'm sizing this guy up, and I'm like, man, I'm looking at him, and you should never judge, right? This dude tapped me in 15 seconds with this straight ankle, and it came on so fast I couldn't tap it. It snapped. So my Achilles tendon just snapped, and I will tell you, that was by far the worst injury for 2 reasons. Number 1, my coach was in the corner. I got to watch it, and I just felt like I let him down. I just felt like kind of a loser right in the moment. But number 2, we stayed in Hollywood, and I'm with all my friends. We didn't have the greatest showing this year at Noogie Worlds. We accidentally had a couple alcoholic beverages, full disclosure here, and I walked around on my leg. I walked around that night, and I ended up doing more damage to it.
Yeah.
Like, moving around on it. That was a good 6 months I dealt with that. Yeah, it was about a 6 months I dealt with that. So that was the most major injury, outside of, I did get staph infection from a gym, I won't say, in St. Louis. I was training at for a period of time, and they had to cut on my leg. It was one of those in my left thigh. It started looking like a pimple, then a boil, and then it, like day 4, I was at my dealership, and I'm trying to walk on the showroom floor. My left leg wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Like, I could only use my right leg. I couldn't work. It wouldn't work.
Staph is no joke.
I went straight to the freaking ER, and here's what happened too. A few of the doctors were like, and they're all talking all quietly, and I'm like, what's going on, dudes? Like, what's up? I
Yeah.
thought my leg was gonna get cut off. But what they ended up doing was lasering it out. They lasered out the staph. I had a freaking big old hole in my leg. I was out for a little bit then too, Eric. So those are the top 2 injuries that I've had. So
How do you deal with your time off? Like, are you a person who goes and like stands on the side of the mat? Are you just throws yourself into the rest of your life? Like, what is your off mat time look like?
Great question. I mean, if I'm not on the mat, I would much rather be with my kids and my girlfriend and her daughter. So, like, really, it's family. We have Sil and I were talking about this. We got like a handful of couples that we do life with and have dinner here and there, but we're so busy with business and the kids. There's really not a whole lot of time. Um, Jujitsu's that thing, my escape. I always call it my third home. I've got the office that I'm in right here that I'm running day-to-day operations. It's one home. I've got my house that I left this morning. That's my home. The Jiu-Jitsu academy that I'll be at later today, that's my third home. That's the escape from everything else. So I do travel a ton. We're not afraid to take some trips. So
No, it was mostly a question because I find that people who get really stuck in jujitsu is my life and that's the only thing they have don't really do well with injury because it is you sort of lose your identity. And some people, even who have other things like family, still feel that loss of identity. And so I was curious for somebody who talks so much about your family, like, is that the way you escape from the injury, or is it work, or is it something else entirely?
Well,
I just
it's
find it
work.
interesting.
Yeah, one thing too with work is like I'm always working on something, so I don't really consider it work. Like I work for myself, so like I I love projects like research. So I do a lot of I probably work a little more than I should, to be honest. I work a little more than I should.
We all have our vices.
Yeah,
I'm the same way.
I enjoy it though. Wouldn't change a thing.
Let's talk a little bit about work because I'm curious. Like, you got into entrepreneurship, like you said, and like, how did you realize that you were an entrepreneur? Because I feel like that's not a thing everybody figures out early in life or knows how to self-diagnose, so to speak.
Well, I knew I was gonna be in sales at some level at 13 when I was a paper boy. Um, I would have to get up in the morning, and I would get up at like freaking 5 in the morning. I would roll the papers, put them in plastic sleeves, delivering them early. And back then, you had to collect. You have to go knock on the door in the afternoon. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, I'm here to get your subscription. And I got paid tips. Like the local newspaper pays like almost nothing. You get paid on tips. But I learned that if I had this like little process, which is almost weird for a 13-year-old, but I would ask my customer the same thing. Hey, let me ask you a question, Eric. Was your paper on time every single day over the last month? Yeah, it was. Fantastic. Let me ask you this question. Was it rolled in a rubber band and in a plastic sleeve even when it wasn't raining? And then they go, yeah, that's kind of actually, yeah, that it is. Yeah, you're right. All right, great. So here's the thing. This is my livelihood here. This job right here is what's funding my first car. I'm paid on tips. I'm asking you if I gave you good service to give with your heart. That's all I'm asking. And I did that to every customer the same way. And I was making tons of money as a paper boy. And
That
so
is so impressive that you knew to do that at that age. How did you, like, what made you think of that?
I don't even know. And that's why I suck at so many things. Jujitsu is one of them. But I suck at so many things. Like God gave me this ability of entrepreneurship. He gave me the visionary that's what I'm good at. That's the one thing I'm good at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a good salesperson. That is not a skill that I have. I've managed some sales teams when I was in some of my earlier startups, but I was never good enough to actually be the salesperson. So the fact that you were able to do that innately is that much more impressive.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
I really enjoyed it. And so from there, like I got into the restaurant industry when I was old enough, like in high school, just to be in that industry. And my entrepreneurial journey actually started with the automotive industry. I was a commission salesman. So yeah, I was a W-2 employee, but I learned that I controlled my destiny. Like I controlled what I made. And so that taught me how to brand myself, market myself, great customer experience, incredible follow-up, product knowledge master. Like I was like, I was in college and I'll never forget. It was like, the 22nd or 23rd of the month, I had already calculated how much money I had made for the month in commission, and I dropped out of college. And I told my mom, I'm like, hey, listen, I know short term, this could be a disappointment. I get it. but I have different ideas. And so I went from there, but then the car business taught me people and finances and all these other things. I started saving money, and then I started my first real company. I had a few other small companies I dabbled in before this one, but my first real company was in 2005. I started Marburger Investment Group, and I started flipping real estate, buying rentals. And then in 2006, I started my first MMA promotion. I was actually a feeder into the UFC. I don't talk about this. I don't even talk about it anymore, but I was one of 3 licensed MMA boxing promoters in the state of Illinois, one of 3. And because Illinois was not easy to do business with, just throwing that out there. But I would put these incredible fights on every 10 weeks, packed house, every single one of them. And I was most focused on fight quality, not even revenue. I looked at revenue last. This sounds crazy because customer experience should be number one. But what I chose to do is I wanted the best fights possible. Amateur to pro, I'm talking the best matchups possible. And then the customer experience was second. And then by doing that, we were very successful. We made very good income. So
isn't the best fight possible in a lot of ways customer experience? I mean, don't those two things go pretty much hand in hand? Nobody wants to show up regularly for shit fights.
True statement. Yeah, true statement. And then we took the fight game serious, but I learned more. I want to say being in automotive has taught me most of my salesmanship, but from being an entrepreneur, I think I became a real entrepreneur. Flipping houses. Okay. So I transact, buy something. I bid everything that needs done. They do all the work for me. I then put it on the market, then I transact again, and there's some money made. It's not that difficult.
It's an arbitrage model, yeah.
Yeah. But being a fight promoter, okay, securing the venue and the sponsorships, matching the card, all the bullshit with the steak that you just get smashed with, the production quality, the marketing, the advertising, all the stuff. It is the biggest grind ever. It's the biggest grind ever. So
it sounds like you are not suggesting other people go into fight promotion.
And
yet you don't regret any of it at the same time.
Damn, because I just met so many wonderful human beings, but it might be one of the most difficult businesses in the world. A lot of people, they'll talk crap on Dana White. Dana White, and I've got to meet him a few times. Dana White is he's a savant monster. That man, like I said, he's got it figured out over there at the UFC, but being a fight promoter, that is a very difficult job. It's a little easier for him now because the brand's built, to where it is, but even starting, you have to grow up. It always wasn't successful, so.
The first I met Dana a few times, not recently. I think the first time was maybe 2012 or 2013. And there's something that's a little bit different. Again, I don't know what he's like now, but there's something a little bit different. Like he meets you and he's really present with you in a way. Like he has this charisma where when he talks to you, there's like an awareness of, hey, I don't know if you matter, but I want to make sure that if you do, I figure it out. And I want to make you feel good about this interaction. And I think I've met him 4 times and all of them were the exact same way. And he didn't remember me from time to time, but
Eric, what you just said to me is almost verbatim what I've said to other people, because I was at UFC in Miami a handful of months ago, and I'm not a big deal, but a guy that I do business with, his sister, he married Dana White's sister. So my buddy's in the family, right? And so he got us an opportunity to have VIP, Dana's Lounge, all that stuff. It was really cool. Honestly, probably one of those epic weekends of my life. Well, we got an opportunity to chit chat, and what you just said is almost to a T perfect. Like he looks at you in the eye. He cares. He asks questions. He's not on his phone. He's not looking around behind him. It's impressive.
It's like a charisma tactic almost, but from him, it felt pretty genuine. And again, I don't know what he's like now. He wasn't the sort of level that it is now,
but the guy's a gentleman.
Yeah.
He's an amazing. Tell you what, I look up to that guy. There's not many entrepreneurs. First of all, like I'm not one of these celebrity guys. Oh, look at that celebrity. I don't, Gordon. If I see Gordon Ryan, I'm dabbing him. What's up? You're the best, right? Those are celebrities to me. Dana White, I would consider somebody that I would want to spend time with,
Yeah, I think there's something really incredible about what he did. I still have this like personal philosophy where if you get to a certain level of success, you probably had to break a few eggs that you probably shouldn't have along the way. But even still, like looking at what he's been able to do over the years is impressive. But the thing that stood out to me about him was just the difference of meeting him in person and how it felt to talk to him. And that's something that I won't forget, irrespective of whatever he's done or will do in the future.
Agree with that 100%. I agree. I'm in alignment with that for sure.
So you said you get your hands in a lot of things. What does that mean? Like you said automotive, you've got a martial arts school. Like what else do you do at real estate? Like what else do you do? And is it because you have ADHD or is it because you're just like, this is interesting?
Great question. I'm looking at my board now, the deals that I'm in. And by the way, I'm in timeout right now. I am not taking any deal. I'm not looking at any deal. I'm not investing in anything. I'm broke at this point. I'm cash poor because of this gym, but I am ADD. Yes. Yeah, of course.
By the way, that wasn't meant to be insulting. I
By the way,
I am as well.
I'm hopped up on Dayquil. So if I sound, it's been a rough week. I'm just full disclosure here.
Yeah.
So I have my biggest company that is my baby. It's my fourth and sometimes favorite child, is Ascent Dealer Services. We're one of the largest F&I. We provide insurance products to car dealers across the country. So there's that.
Just explain really quickly what F&I is if somebody
Finance and insurance. So like if you go in and buy a new Mercedes and you're going to keep it for 10 years and you want to go ahead and enhance or extend your factory warranty out, you buy those products. Well, my company provides those products to car dealers and then they sell them to the retail consumer. That's what that is. Okay. And then I own a company called Dental Protection Group where we have limited warranties on dental procedures, and then we cover prosthetics from the lab to the doctors. So we're in the insurance space. Those are my two insurance companies. I have two real estate companies, Marburger Investment Group. I do commercial, and then multifamily, and I do some flips. I have A2 Investments. I have a partner in that company. We do duplexes, quads. We do have some single family. We're kind of getting out of that single family in that company. So there's that. My other baby, is Alton Elite Jiu-Jitsu. That's our martial arts academy. I have interest in an AI company that is in the automotive industry that's doing well. I have interest in a film in the film industry, and I'm actually in 5 films. So I've put some cash up on a deal that I'm starting to kind of. I have a mentor that I trust. I've always been fascinated with film, and I've always maybe wanted to attempt acting. I know my daughter's always wanted to be kind of in that scene, Anna. So I made the investment from an educational standpoint, but the return is going to look really, really well. And then I'm in Marburger Coaching and Development. That's my company where I receive my book sales, my speaking fees, and then I do consulting work that goes into that company. Then I got a few others that I don't want to bore you with, but my passion is Riverbend Rescue. That's our nonprofit. And what we do is we do a lot in the community, but at Christmas is really our drive. We do a big party in July. It's like a gala. We're dueling pianos. It's so fun. A lot of people sponsor and show up and have a great night out. We use those funds for Christmas. We work with a handful of local schools. We get with the nurses, and then we identify the kids in most need. So what we do is we get the list, and then we go fulfill the list, and then we take them, we wrap the gifts, we do all that. We then take them back to the schools, and we let the parents decide who is it from, let them make all decisions. We want to empower parents.
That's really great.
Yeah, so that is Riverbend Rescue. That is, we've this nonprofit's been in existence for 3 years now, and we continue to grow every year. And so that's a mouthful. I just do a lot of different things.
No, I find it very interesting. Like I also have like a bunch of different things, but when I normally find people who do 1 or 2 things, but when you see it, balloon up to 5 to 10, then you start to wonder, like, how do these people do the sort of, do they have assistants? Are they doing all the work themselves? Like, like, how do you manage your day-to-day life and still have time for the things that matter most to you, like, call it jujitsu, like family, like whatever it is?
Yeah. Well, there's a formula. Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, it's impossible to do. No human being can own 5 companies even, or 4 companies, and be in the day-to-day of all the stuff. You can't do it. You can't see
Agreed.
a company doing that. So, I will not get into a deal without a partner. So, like, if I'm gonna do something, like, if I don't mind bringing capital to it and giving visionary ideas and thought, and I don't mind tickling around on the marketing and the advertising and the socials, but there's gonna be somebody else running the day-to-day that I'm done managing people. Like in Ascent Dealer Services, I have 2 people that report to me, and there's a bunch of people that report to them. I'm handling the meetings that are important, and there's only a few things, and if you really think about it, every single day, there should only be a couple major decisions made on each business. Like, there's only a few a day, and I implemented, it's called EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System. There's a book called Traction. And it basically shows you how to scale a company. And I learned after reading that book and then listening to the audio afterwards, I was the reason I wasn't as successful as I should be. I was in the way. I am a visionary and I'm not an integrator. So every deal that I do going forward, I will have to partner with an integrator that can run, and then I can move on to the next deal. That's the only way to do it.
How do you sort of decide what those, like, I agree with your base assumption of like, hey, there's 3 to 5 decisions every day that are the most important, but like in the sort of Eisenhower matrix, urgent, important, not urgent, not important, like, how do you decide what those 3 to 5 decisions are? Do you just sort of say, oh, you know what, this one's not important, you make that one when somebody brings it to you? Or do you have a baseline set of tenets that you're like, all these decisions, come talk to me?
That's a great question. And I have to give credit to my assistant, Laura, my executive assistant, Laura Georgioff. She's the most incredible human. So I have a running list. I have ideas in the shower. I'm going to take this another direction.
Yeah.
I have random ideas at 4 a.m. when I have to get up and take a piss. Okay. When these random ideas, no matter where I'm at or where they're at, when I'm able to, I immediately email myself and copy my assistant on this random thought and idea. And so I have a running list of ideas and I have another running list of items to complete. So Laura will sift through the daily list and she'll prioritize lots of things with different colors and et cetera for me. So without Laura, I wouldn't be able to do it. I got to have her. So she helps me with my decision making.
Let me phrase the question a little bit differently, because I absolutely, I understand what you're saying, but the thing that I'm more looking for is, like, I've been managing people for the better part of the last 15 years. I've had teams of multiple hundred people, and I still do at the moment. And the way I apply a framework where I'm like, here's the things that I care about. And if you're not sure, then bring it to me and we can decide if I care about it. And then from there on out, if I don't, those decisions are all yours. And if I do, then we talk about how to give you as much of that decision-making capability as possible. But what I didn't hear from what you said is how you decide what those 3 to 5 important decisions are that involve you or that should involve you. And so that kind of strategic thinking, like, how do you decide whether a decision's for you, or if you can leave it to your integrator or Laura or something like that?
Well, I'm old school. I don't have it here. Maybe I do. I got one. Yep. Well, I'm old school. You see what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the best thing in the world. Legal pad. I've always got a legal pad. And so, like, every night before I end my day, so how do I know what major decisions? So let me just answer the question.
Yeah.
The decisions are made the night before on what I need to do, because I've got this legal pad of items that I'll look and go, oh, that's important. I put a star. Oh, that's important, star. Oh, that's important, star. Email, it goes on my list. And then if I don't get it done, I get yelled at by Laura. So it always gets done. So that's how it's done. I am I don't want you to be making fun of me, but like, here, I have a daily sheet. So I have a few, I don't have all my companies, the ones that really matter. I have 3 major decisions in each company. There's a place in notes, family. And so even on the other side, I live out of my calendar, but there's something special about writing down in front of you, you knowing, oh, I got a podcast coming up. Oh, I got 30 minutes for lunch. You just could see it right in front of you. Because this thing gives you freaking anxiety. I'm telling you, the less you can touch this, the better your life is. And I'm a work in progress. Okay. What?
Look, I'm not going to make fun of you. I hate writing things down personally. Like I just like with pen and paper, it drives me crazy. I will not do it, but I document everything. So I love what you have there. I actually genuinely, I wish I could write, but I just have like note apps, like productivity apps on my phone that handle that sort of organization just a little more visually. No judgment for me. I think that's awesome.
Words.
How'd you come up with that?
Man, I don't even remember. Well, I had Megan, my old graphic designer, because I was using just a legal pad and pen every day, and I would just kind of do it manually in a pad. And I just had Megan, she was working with me at the time, just create like you know what? I think I have one. But oh yeah, I've got the old one right here. So this was version 1. Version 1
Yeah.
was, gratitude, because I left, because I have a different morning routine now, but I used to do things a little differently. But like the daily schedule is how I started my morning. And I would always, 5 things I'm grateful for. What are my goals for today? Important calls to make. And then I would put my day, and then I have all these spots for notes. So I always have this working sheet in front of me. I could take notes on calls and whatever, but I wanted to get more granular on the other company. So that's why I made a shift on the sheet itself.
Is there anything about your morning routine that shifted when you went from one sheet to the other that you're like, I did not realize that I needed this, or actually I don't need this, and I learned that about myself?
Yeah, I want to be a little, I would kind of like to have that done the night before, except for the gratitude. It's a daily exercise. I've been, that is, here, you're in Germany, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. We here, especially in the Midwest, we've got smashed with this cold, like this. It's a common cold. What I've got, I thought I had the flu or something. I went and got tested. I mean, this is day, I think 12. So my morning routine the last 2 weeks, I can't wait to get a morning routine again. I'm looking forward to it. But what I'm getting at is I'm back up in that 5 a.m. club again. I like to get over to Planet Fitness. I want to get my 20 minutes on the treadmill. I want to get my lift in. And then I want to start my day with that energy, because then now I don't have to go get my lift in before I do jujitsu. Right. I want more flexibility. So that I would rather kind of be prepped for the day before, the night before, because I want my morning time to be more intentional at the gym.
Yeah, I get that. That's interesting. Well, like the gratitude, like why is that a morning thing for you as opposed to an evening thing?
Well, I think it's an all day thing. So here's the thing. I do my gratitudes a little bit differently now. I meditate through them. I don't write them down anymore. Like I'll kind of meditate through them, and I'll go deeper into the gratitude. Like, I'm grateful for my mother, A, because she's still here, B, because she's super involved in my kid's life, C, because her health is good enough for us to travel together. I go deeper into it, right? And I find it's easier to go deeper into that gratitude without having to sit and write it out. And then if you start your day and this can be done in your car too. You know what I'm saying? There's so many different, I have so many, because I'm always all over the place. So I'm at the airport a lot of times early in the morning. So I'll do it on my way to the airport. But if you start your day with gratitude, it just sets the tone. It just really, I'll tell you right now, there was an individual in my life that caused me a lot of issues. And I was at an event with a bunch of other entrepreneurs, and I explained this big issue of this person in my life that just, she's in my head, but not paying rent, right? And they encouraged me to double down on the gratitude for this individual. And so I did an exercise for about 30 days of gratitudes for this individual. Now this individual doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't even faze me. Like I have a different, it's like no sweat. I'm all good. Like you can be mean to me and it doesn't hurt. It's gratitude is a powerful thing. It's very powerful. So
I try to do that when I can bring myself to meditate. I've really struggled with meditation in the mornings because normally I get up and I'm like, okay, I want to start doing stuff. I want to like get going. And I really have struggled to make meditation feel like a thing that I need to do as opposed to just start checking off tasks on my task list kind of a thing.
I'm kind of in the same boat. There was this season of my life where meditation was a non-negotiable thing. Hell, I went out to Sedona and learned breath work and worked with some high-level individuals and really got into it. And I carried that for years. And I think what happened, COVID changed a whole lot for me, man. Like there was a whole lot that changed in my personal life at the beginning of COVID. And so I just kind of stopped around that time, I think, really getting into the meditation and stuff like that.
Do you feel like it was positive that you stopped or negative or you're
Negative.
kind of neutral about it?
Negative. I mean, I picked up more unhealthy habits during that COVID era than healthy habits. And, I just went through a lot personally during that era. So yeah.
I want to I'm curious to tie some of this back like to the writing, right? Because it seems like you spend a fair amount of time writing, whether it's writing before you go to bed or thinking about it in journaling, in gratitude or meditation. And you've written 2 books. Like, how much of that sort of process of your morning and evening routines of writing goes into writing the books, or is that completely separate?
It's completely separate. What I like to do is I batch time for certain things. Like if I know, I mean, you got projects you prep for, everyday business endeavors you have prep for. And then if I know I have to create an article or prepare for a talk or I know I'm writing for something, I batch time and I put it in my calendar. For me, the magic happens when I'm in the coffee shop with headphones in and in a public place, but by myself. And that's where the magic happens for me.
Is it the act of forcing yourself to do it, or is the prep work done? Like, I wrote a book many years ago, and for me, I had to sit at home and focus on that. Otherwise, I couldn't get it done. But that was just the actual workload. The prepping for that, or here's how I want to talk about it, or here's the structure of this thing. I would just do that walking around, walking the dog or whatever. And then when I sat down to do it, I already had the structure. So like, is your focus time when you're sitting down and doing it, or is your focus time like out and about?
It's a really good question. I'm really trying to think how I want to answer it because I'm the type of guy, the right words show up at all times, it seems like. Like I prepare very little for any type of on stage talk. Very little. I know what I want to say, and I will bullet point a handful of words that if I were to get off track, or even my PowerPoints just to keep me, because I'll rant off and squirrel. I mean, so but when it comes to like my writing and stuff, I don't want to be overly like tense, and I don't want too much pressure on myself. So when I go into a writing session, I'll have a handful of things that I know I want to get into, and then when I get in there, I just kind of it just works, you know. I like less structure with that. It's crazy. I like the structure on the outline, like the end result. What do I want? The goals, outlines. That's but I like to kind of free flow when it comes to the actual writing itself.
But when you do but like your books required some research, right? You did write on like leadership and there are some very well established practices, policies, structure. Like, how if you're more free flowing, like you had to get that research in at some point to be able to like write about it, no?
Yeah, absolutely. 100% yes. But that research came with over time. Like when you're reading all these books for 20 something years, you've got like I'm the type of guy when I read a book, I will then paraphrase things, outline things, I'll repurpose them, I'll put them into meeting formats for people and train people on them. So have got so much of that content. So like for instance, this book didn't really need to teach you. This was my first one, but this book was more of personal development type stuff. This is a manuscript for the automotive industry. So this is more of a textbook, but I do talk about a lot of John Maxwell and Dr. Robert Cialdini's work because at the end of the day, John Maxwell's the godfather of leadership. Like, he's just a guy. That's my opinion. Um, and
What is it about him that you particularly like or subscribe to? Like, what about his leadership
his heart,
views?
his
Okay.
heart, his heart. Like, when you hear his voice, you know he's real. He cares. I mean, this man was he left the ministry to go into, like, basically business ministry because he felt that there was a severe lack of leadership in the world of entrepreneurship. And so his goal was to go out and build these leaders, and he's a true servant leader. I mean, the man's brilliant. I love, and then Cialdini, I mean, he's just so smart. I mean, his books are hard to read. They're dry. Um, you're not going to sit down on the beach, wow, right? But you're gonna hit things. Go, oh, that makes sense. That applies here. Oh, that applies here. That applies here. I'm going to put that in a note. Oh, I can make a meeting out of this. Like, this works. So yeah,
That's how I feel about Patrick Lencioni. So I mean, he's written a lot of books. One of them was written very incredibly, The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. That was very narrative, very, very beautifully written. But The Advantage, took me, I don't know, 3-4 months to get through. It was brutally, painfully slow to read, but I have taken more from that in building all the businesses that I've built over the years about organizational health and communication and strategy. And it was just beautifully articulated, just painfully boring to read. So I fully understand where you're coming from
yeah,
there.
yeah. You know, but the thing is, with those books, what I find is audio's better on some of those books, because when you're listening to it and you know it's a nugget, you can pause and make a quick note to go back and reference and dig into the text. So I like to do that with myself sometimes when you're listening, because some of those books are tough to read.
Yep. I have them all on the Kindle. So as soon as I just highlight it, and then I send the stuff to myself when I'm done reading the book, and I've got all my notes highlighted, and then I can, like take additional thoughts down after that. Because you're right. You get a nugget in there and you're like, I cannot forget this thing. And then you just keep going. What prompted you to write the You're the Fucking Problem book? Like, what kind of self-accountability thing did you run into that you're like, man, everyone needs to know what I've learned here?
Yeah. That's a really great question. I mean, I wanted to share my story to help somebody, because I was in a pretty dark place. But, like, so 2019 in February, my stepfather uh, had a stroke on Friday and died on Sunday. And he was kind of like, I mean, real big part of the family. We were very close. It was devastating. My mom, it was just a very, very tough loss. April 1st, the guy that I founded Ascent Dealer Services with, my business partner, my best friend, he took his own life on April 1st. And then we fast forward into May, and then my ex-wife's grandfather, who was my mentor, very close, he was the patriarch of the entire family, he passed away. Okay. And then the next month we get into June, me and my ex-wife split. So now I'm living in a spare bedroom at my mom's house while she's grieving the loss of her 20-year marriage. I'm grieving everything. And, I made a decision in the month of June, July, and half of August to go out and party like a 20-year-old, to act like a complete douchebag, to do everything that I was not supposed to do. I was still able to run my business effectively. It's amazing how functional you can be with work, but I was a complete idiot, right?
High functioning depression is a real thing.
Oh, so there came a time in April, and then I'm going to reference something here because I got a lot of people. I'm a Christian. I'm not afraid to share my faith. I'm a Christian. I'm a Jesus lover. Okay. And here's the thing, a lot of people are like, how dare you use the F word if you're supposed to be a Christian, right? And so, I wrote this book, and you'll see, the pawn staring at the king. I wrote this and I titled it the way I did because mid-August, one morning, it was a Sunday, I'm brushing my teeth and I'm sick of myself. See, I was never going to take my life, ever. I have 3 daughters. So the idea what my business partner did, I don't know what he was going through, so I can't judge him either. But I remember looking at my pistol, and I remember for the first time in my life, like understanding, like I get why people do. Like it makes so instead of like judging all the time, like you got to understand what people are going through. I was at the absolute lowest in my life. And I said, dude, I'm sitting here, I'm like, hey, Adam, you're the effing problem. So basically, I told myself, you're the effing problem. I made a decision that day to forgive myself, to forgive everybody else. I started cutting friends. Like I wrote a list. Like, okay, who's this person I'm hanging out with? What value does it bring? And then I made decisions on who to cut and who to keep. That's where it started. So the book was titled based on a conversation that I had with myself. And the subtitle is A Guide to Getting Out of Your Own Way. So what I did was I shared some stories of success and I painted this illusion or this picture of, hey, listen, you can have it all and you can lose it. And that's what happened to me. Like I had it all, lost it all, and then I figured out how to get it back. And there's some good teachings in there, and there's some good storytelling in that book. And I kind of wrote it originally like for my local community just to help somebody. That was originally, we sold a lot of copies. I didn't expect for it to do what it did. But that'll always, no matter how many more books I write, there's more. That'll always be my favorite. Like that, there's something special about that book.
Do you have anything? Do you have any like sort of stories where somebody came to you and you're like thanked you for what you wrote or gave you something specific? And
so many you can't count. Can't count. Yeah.
Is that what you enjoy about having written it, or is it more your own personal journey that you were like, man, I'm so glad I did this for myself, or I'm glad that I did this for myself and now glad that it's helping other people?
Yeah, I think the helping other people is where it's at. I mean, because if you could take somebody that's just kind of stuck and then they read your words, it's timing. Sometimes people have to hear things at the right time for it to click. And so those are those aha moments for me. And yeah, when I get those messages on LinkedIn or on Facebook, like, oh my God, my story is so similar. And the selfish part of it is the joy that you get. Like you feel really good when you help somebody, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it kind of ties back to what we were talking about earlier about how you enjoy teaching. And now you've got the school where you get to watch people grow, and that you've shifted your outlook on life, and it sort of ties all of that stuff together really interestingly.
You're just seeing people grow in life, just grow in general. The thing going back to jujitsu too, like the one thing about the growth that happens there is it's just not in jujitsu. You're not just getting better at jujitsu. You're getting better at your health. You're probably eating a little bit better. If you're older, you're probably drinking less if you drink. You're probably better to your spouse. You're in a better mood. You're probably more active at work. I mean, because it fixes everything. Mental issues, stress, I mean, you know what it's like. I'm sure there's many days on your way to jujitsu, you got a call or two you didn't like, or you're pissed at somebody, and then you leave jujitsu. It's just not as bad as it was.
I'm a morning person, so I teach at 8 a.m. I do the morning classes. Like I teach them, and then like I'm done with my workout and done with jujitsu no later than 11 o'clock every morning. Sometimes, most of the days, I'm done by like 9:30, and then I go off and I have my work day.
There you go.
And I do like the podcast in the evening.
There you go.
So, yeah. I want to ask you a question about the book. Like you said something that you kind of said it as a bit of like maybe a throwaway line because you've thought about it before, but you said like, I just realized that I was the problem. That is a massive gap for somebody who is like grieving or depressed to do. Like, what made you realize it? Like you said looking at the pistol, but I mean, poor phrasing, but that's not usually the trigger, so to speak.
I think it was I was just disappointed in myself. And I just remember looking in the mirror like, Adam, I understand there's been bad shit this year. Like you've went through a lot, but come on, there's somebody who's got it worse than you. Like you got a roof over your head. You got people that actually care. Get out of your way, dude. And so it was more of a disappointment in self and needing to make a declaration to actually make some change in my life. And that's really what that era in my life was. And I remember too, the people that I cut, like I didn't stop loving them. I just kind of loved them from a distance, and I leaned into those that were elevating me,
That's a really That's a really wonderful lesson, that you don't stop loving those people. You just love them from further away. I feel like that's not a lesson that most people find doable.
You want everybody to do well. I mean, you want everybody to do well. I had certain friends that were perfect.
By the way, I don't think most people do want everybody to do well. I agree with you. I want everybody to do well, but I don't think that's as common a sentiment as it should be.
You're correct, but I want to believe in the better of mankind. I just want to believe that we're hardwired to want to see people win. And there's bad apples. There's bad apples everywhere. But wanting. Here's the thing: when you desire to win, first of all, we should all want to win. I'll tell you, I'm going to give you, my coach is a woman by the name of Danelle Delgado, and she's changed my life. She's just phenomenal, and she's just a phenomenal person. But she has a famous phrase: "Is if I don't win, who loses?" It's like, so if you really think about it, it's like, all right, well, if I don't win, who loses? Like, well, my family, community, people that I work with. Like, there's so many variables. And so it's like, but then if you really think about it, the ocean's big. There's enough market share for all of us. I think that there's a lack of action in the marketplace. So if you desire other people to win at your same level or even more, the abundance kind of just shows up. The universe, it's weird. It's like if you have gratitude, you truly want to see people succeed in life, like the success circles right back to you and kicks you in the butt. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's fact. It's true. It's proven. I mean,
look at it as a rising tide lifts all ships, right? If I help elevate as many people around me as I can, if I can make anyone around me better, then I either am better myself or they will help make everyone else better, and the rising tide lifts all ships. Like, that's my general goal, which is, and the only reason I prefer this over the distinction of winning is because I don't feel the need to win, and I don't judge others for how they view it. I don't feel the need to win. I like the idea of just helping to improve others and improve myself, even if I don't win necessarily.
love that. I love that.
When you think about the self-accountability that you talked about, like, that self-accountability is something that clearly helped you get out of the hole. When you put that into practice, does that self-accountability also extend to how you help others, or is that really just inwardly focused?
Well, it could be both, but let's talk about self-accountability. There's certain things that you can do to hold yourself accountable. You build routines. It takes time to build the routine. The routine becomes just standard, but you got to have somebody else to really hold you accountable. Like, so it's picking a couple of people. Like in each business, we got accountability partners, and you got to have an accountability partner that'll tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And so the accountability is huge. You got to have self accountability. You got to be talk about self awareness. That book's about being self aware. Self awareness, a lot of people lack it. It's beautiful. When you figure out self awareness, it's beautiful. You can get out of your own way at that point. You think you're a certain way, and you're really not. But when you figure it out, you're really not. You can start pivoting and making changes in your life. And then there's the accountability factor that is, yeah, you need to hold yourself accountable at some level. You can only hold yourself accountable to a certain level because we're weak, okay, as humans. So that's where you get somebody who is got your best interest in mind that will hold you accountable ultimately. Magic pill, the magic drug that is the biggest lack in the marketplace is action. Most people think ideas are great and they sit on their ass.
How do you get people to action? Like, what's your strat? I mean, you have a lot of people that work with you or for you. Like, how do you drive those people when they're struggling?
Well, they see your leader doing it. They see me hustling. Like, I'll tell you right now, in our sales team, I put on more deals than anybody at Ascendular Services. By me being I have an option. I could play golf every day if I want. I could go freaking just vacation. Pick my kids up, take them to school every day, make their lunches. I could do all that if I want to. But am I going to get the results and the production out of my people? The answer is hell no. So I lead from the front. I'm grinding in Ascent. I still teach classes at my Jiu-Jitsu Academy. I'm there on a daily basis lately, obviously, because I've been sick as crap. Haven't been there like I need to be there. But with that being said, it's leaders have to lead. Leaders eat last. The book by Simon Sinek. I mean, come on, every entrepreneur should read that. Leaders eat last, and you got to lead by example, So
That's an interesting, I haven't read that book, but I'm ex-military. So I learned to eat last, especially when we were in combat, always ate last. But I find that when I sort of talk to people about that these days, they're like, oh yeah, Simon Sinek. And I'm like, oh, that's not, yes, it's great to learn it like that. But I've always done that. And I think that people miss the lesson often there. Like, I think the lesson is servant leadership, not
yes,
what order you eat. And I find that very fascinating how often that message gets lost.
the way I look at it too, like especially when it comes to my kids and family, it's like if there's food left over, I'll eat then. Like I'm letting you guys go first. So
I mean, you've done so many things, you've got so many businesses, like you've got so much experience. Is there any like single or two pieces of advice that you just wish everybody knew?
wish everybody knew.
Yeah.
Well, well, this question would be for young and up and coming entrepreneurs that if you can just understand that the setback is a moment of celebration. Because when I look back, I remember I used to freak out over certain little situations and losing certain clients. And once I understood that every time that there's some type of a moment or there's a plateau, that's an opportunity to celebrate that moment that you're in and really dissect why we're here. What's changed? What behavior changes? Let's look innerly here. What's systems and processes? Where are we off? How's our communication? So, like setbacks, like understand you want to do something, you're going to have situations where you fall short. It could be financially, whatever that is. Those are moments to study and celebrate so we can then, here's where processes came from, by the way, guys. Okay. Processes came from failure. We made a mistake. How did we make the mistake? Who was responsible for the mistake? How could we have mitigated this opportunity for this mistake? What can we do to prevent this from future? Or is this something that may not be 100% preventable? How do we minimize that? Write a plan out, right? So I challenge, the best advice I give young entrepreneurs is to give yourself a little bit of grace. You get to 5-year mark, you're off to the races, right? Get to 5 years. Everybody says if you can make it a year or two, no, get to 5 years. Get to 5 years, make some mistakes, learn some stuff, equip yourself to be better, and then share your lessons with other people so they can minimize their losses as well.
I love that. The way I think about that is minimizing the impact of failure and minimizing the cost of failure, right? Like I definitely love that lesson in jujitsu. Like you normalize tapping, you make it so it's not an ego thing, and then you learn from it, because while it's an ego hit, you're not going to learn. And so entrepreneurs, same thing. Like I love the way you phrase that. Very, very beautifully articulated. What are you excited for in the future?
That's I'm not one of these people that, as far as excited in the future, that's a tough question to answer because I don't get a whole lot of, I don't like, I have a hard time celebrating certain wins and stuff. Like I don't feel a whole lot like, so I don't have, it makes me dangerous in the marketplace because I have no sense of feeling. I don't have a sense of accomplishment. Earning the black belt, I was on a podcast yesterday or the day before, and they asked me what was the biggest achievements of my life that really meant something. There's only 4. My firstborn, Annalie, my secondborn, Arabelle, my thirdborn, Aston, and then my black belt in that order. Well, the 3 girls are equal. Sometimes Aston's number 1. But with that being said, the black belt, because there's a lot that goes on that most people can't comprehend or even understand what it takes to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu or just the path through that, right? So let me land the plane here in a sense. So what am I excited for in the future? I'm excited to be more present in my kids' lives, to spend more time on the mats, to travel less, to be present more with my daughters. That's what excites me the most.
I think that's a fantastic answer. I, the thing I like about answers like that is it shows that you're very comfortable with where you are in life, and you are now getting the chance to focus on the things that you want to focus on. And I mean, I feel like you started to minimize that answer a little bit at the beginning, but I think it was a really beautiful sentiment about where you are these days. So yeah. Is there anything you want to promote?
Not a big promoter. I mean, if people, want to follow me on LinkedIn, Adam Marburger, and then Facebook, there are people who duplicate my profiles and it's crazy how Facebook too allows people, like, I'll even say they're trying to be me and they won't take it down. So if you find me on Facebook, there's a blue check mark, Adam Marburger. That's the only account that I look at. So there's
I will put all of the links in the show notes. So anybody who wants to see it or get to you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, Instagram, Adam P. Marburger. I'm new to the TikTok. I don't really know how to use it. My assistant plays with it for me. She uploads stuff. So, but I'm easy to find on social media. So
I'll tag you in everything. Adam, this was a super fun conversation. I really appreciate your time today, and I'm glad we finally got it together.
you know what? This was awesome. I really enjoyed. This was a thought-provoking conversation. This wasn't like a typical podcast that I'm on. So I really appreciate the questions and the thought provocation. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I put time and effort into trying to make these things interesting and not the run-of-the-mill stuff. Thanks, man.
I appreciate you.
Thank you for listening. If you have any questions about entrepreneurship, writing, building businesses, or digging out of a dark hole, feel free to reach out to Adam. If you find yourself near Alton, Illinois, USA, find Adam for a role at Alton Elite Jiu-Jitsu. You can find his contact information and websites in the show notes. And as always, thank you for your time and attention.